All right, so there you go. That's some feedback already from what we just talked about in terms of the politics of what is going on in River State. And so you get to see those two comments from Law Alpha Cross, also trying to talk about the developments right there in River State. But yes, Jeff Ojinika joins us this morning. He is right here in the studios. He's a national chairman, Coalition for Change. Good morning. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so a couple of things playing out. The House of Reps yesterday talking about this genetically modified food. So let's let you listen to this report, then we'll take it from there.
Final plenary session of the week in the House of Representatives. The Deputy Speaker presides once again. Plenary begins with communications from the President, one of which is the anti-doping bill.
The enactment of this vital legislation will also help Nigeria avoid the imposition of signatory consequences, inclusive of loss of hosting and participating at regional, continental, and world championships or major athletic events.
Matters of urgent national importance on the escalating insecurity in Kaduna State and the killing of 27 people in Zamfara State are considered and adopted.
Worried that most recent incident consumes the life of the bloodshed of Marke, Malam Kabir Mohammed, who was slaughtered and set ablaze by his killers, resulting in his instant incriminations, injuries of some of his household, and loss of the properties worth of millions of naira on Thursday, 2nd May 2024.
These continuous killings and abduction in Sapele local government demands immediate attention and actions. Lives and properties are under constant threat, and the situation is deteriorating rapidly day by day. Urge the Chief of Army Staff to constitute military barracks in Sapele local government to strengthen border defense of the areas.
The attention of the House is then drawn to the concerns around genetically modified foods, as Honorable Mukhtar Shagaya calls for an investigation.
The House resolves 2-1. Urge the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, to cause the already introduced GM foods and crops in Nigeria to be properly labeled to safeguard consumers. 3, mandate the Committee on Agricultural Production and Services to A, conduct a comprehensive investigation into the introduction of genetically modified crops in Nigeria by the National Biosafety Management Agency. B, assess the potential health and environmental risks associated with genetically modified crops and report back to the House within 4 weeks.
The House is further urging the federal government to suspend the introduction of new genetically modified crops until an investigation by the committee is completed and the findings are made public. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Oh, you're not new to this lawmaking, and so having particularly this last bit of introducing new genetically modified crops, even though last government already corn is already approved for genetically modified in this country. But about this particular one, what is your impression of this?
Well, thank you. I would like to say that the issue of genetically modified foods or has constituted a world food politics. You know, that's definitely politics in everything, and it's part of the food politics. And once the government had already taken a proactive measure to set up the biosafety agency, and we also have a biotechnology agency and all whatnot. So I think the House, that agency is the agency that the House would have called up to know is exactly what they're doing because they had the mandate. So, but calling for investigation, and the usual calling for investigation, Nigerians will worry whether is it a matter that because the people behind some of these genetically modified are big time, players. Whether you see an indirect way of reaching out to them, before you know it, this thing will come up and the report will not come out. The most important thing is that for the safety of our people, we need to be very conscious of what our people are taking, especially both man and animals. But the major critical thing is that there will be an emergency in this country next year. From what is happening from the farmers' end, there don't seem to be much happening. In fact, we just had the first, rain that farmers can start as of last week, just a few days ago. But before then, all the preparations that used to precede the farming, nothing is in place. I don't know how people in a country where it's difficult for people right now, cost of fertilizer is about 30,000-40,000 for a bag of fertilizer. So how would the farmers even farm? The cost of chemicals that used to be about 1,200, for the herbicides is now about 10,000. And it's not as the purchasing power of the farmers has increased. It has not in any way increased. So, except there's an emergency in the next few days.
But the president at the time, not long ago, declared an emergency in the agri sector. Doesn't that count for something?
I can tell you, as I'm a farmer. As a farmer right there, and I have a lot of I do large-scale farming, and I also have small-scale farmers that also do in clusters that we monitor. There is nothing trickling down. There is nothing as of now. There is no policy, nothing even rolled out from the Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of Water Resources as to what will happen this current farming season. I don't know whether it is when the wet season is over that they will, start something. There's definitely no program on ground. So, and
normally there used to be?
There used to be.
So
there
by
used
now,
to be, by now.
What would you be hearing?
The issue of, as I said now, farmers are going to farm. Some of the seedlings that, that especially how yielding seedlings, the government, usually if it was in those days, maybe the CBN will help to get them in, they will help to import when they were doing the job of ministry and CBN. But now, we're expecting that some of those things, either through the seed council or through to be able to come in. And then fertilizer, which is very important. There's no fertilizer anywhere. No farmer can afford 30,000-40,000 to buy a bag of fertilizer that they used to buy for 5,000. If you plan, so something needs to be done, and urgently too. So for me, the House has left a more critical issue to address than somebody who is hungry, who wants to die, who is starving, will prefer to eat the GMO one than starving to death. So it is even in climes where you have something to eat that you can now start selecting, that you can be what they call a discriminating consumer. Wow. Nigerians are not at the level of discriminating consumers. It's just that we have not started, feeding from the dustbin. Outside that, Nigerians are not discriminating consumers. So it is I applaud the House for coming up. At least they are interested in the safety of Nigerians. But something should precede that. They should better sit up and see that there's an emergency in the agri sector. And we just have only very few months to go to do that.
How do you mean few months for the season?
The season is almost by October, November. This farming season for the wet season will be over. And then you now talk of we don't have a dry season farming, which we don't have a lot of facilities for. It's only people who have a source to irrigation that can do dry season farming.
Where are we in that area of irrigation so that we can have this all-season kind of farming?
In so many clients, people don't even use season again to, it's all the year round. Mm-hmm. And, but in our own client, the access to irrigation, access to water is very low. The river basins were meant to provide all those facilities, but they are very, even to get farmers, to get body of water, to get, in those days, they used to supply them with our water pump. To get a water pump now, you have to pay up to 200,000.
So let me ask you, as a farmer who is in there, you're also looking to see, just like normal businesses, you have to innovate if you need to be in business. Do you, in any way, maybe your research people, or talk about hydroponics, how to ensure that you also stay in the market by probably trying something like that?
It's not the duty of the farmers to do those innovations. In fact, we have a lot of agencies. We have equipment manufacturing that the government funds. The one that is in a lorry. They're supposed to be that will be innovating. Naseni is there. We have so many government agencies that should have been innovating in producing the required tools for farmers to go to. They are not doing their job. And in fact, it's so pathetic that the National Assembly needs to do a very serious inward review, especially as it concerns agriculture. I challenge you, go and take the budget of Cocoa Research Institute. If you analyze the budget of the Cocoa Research Institute, you will see that over 80% of what is in the budget of the Cocoa Research Institute has nothing to do with the mandate of that research institute. And that is how our budget has been so messed up, so bastardized, that all the agencies with very clear mandates, if you see the budget, their budget is at variance with the mandates of, and it has to do with all these inclusions of constituency projects here and there, and things that doesn't meet national mandates. There are things that should meet national mandates, and those are the things that should fall. By the time in 2003, 2004, when the idea of constituency project was conceived, there were 3 mandate areas that members were allowed to choose from. We had the rural water program, we had the rural health program, and we had the rural electrification program. Any program outside these 3 mandates could not qualify for constituency project. But today, if you see the budget is so distorted, inundated with things that cannot in any form meet up with national mandates. And they are there, over 70% of what you see in the budget. Almost all the parastatals and agencies. Go and look at them. You see federal medical centers, you see Ministry of Agri, you see their budget. You see the things that are there. It has nothing to do with the mandate of those ministries. And it is something very serious that calls for emergency, that the president needs to sit down and dialogue with the National Assembly.
If you were to advise or let the president know something concerning this emergency that was declared in agri sector, what would you like him to know about what he did?
Please,
it's working.
Please, I would like Mr. President to know that the farmers of this country, if you let it put across, you call across to AFAN, all the farmers organizations. You have AFAN, you have the processors, you have all the various crop organizations or animal organizations, all the in the agri sector. None has felt any impact of the government. None. And there seems to be nothing from the parent ministry to the effect that they want something serious to be done in that sector. And that's the truth. So the president should call in fact, he should be able to invite the agri minister. Let us know what has happened in the last 1 year and what is the preparation for this. In fact, that of the rainy wet season farming is already late. It's already getting late. In fact, by now, they should be talking of what will happen during the dry season farming.
The Minister of State for Agri was here on the program, and he did say they're putting in place a lot of measures to ensure that farmers are up and running. Supplying seeds and grains.
In this country, I had opportunity during the Adesina. We had 2 tractors. The tractor then in the market under the GS program, the tractor that we had, the tractor what about 15 years ago? The tractor then was 7.4 million in the market. And then in the Ministry of Work, they will give you the tractor for 3.4. And then you go and you use it to go. Under the GS program, we had a lot that the farmers could go and do a lot to produce. And in all climes in the US, if you have a farm, and you don't want to pay tax on any land, if you put in, that's why if you are going around in some places, you will see where cows are going in some, grazing. If you put cow to graze in your land, you will not pay. You will have a bonus on tax. You will not pay tax on that land. Because the government comes up with a lot of incentives. They do a lot, give farmers a lot of incentives to to encourage people to, because it's not a sector that is too profitable. If you have your money today, like 50 million, and you invest 50 million in agri, you invest in health, you invest in real estate, definitely agri will be the less, because it's more like a social job to be able to make people to continue to
But it's more impactful.
It's more impactful.
Yes,
because for you to health, somebody who is hungry can never be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no economy that can grow without the agri sector.
How do I go into farming now if you're not encouraging, if this is the scenario? It will be discourage people from coming into farming. If government is not, if you're not feeling the policy of government in this country.
By now, someone expected that this current government should have rolled in at least 10,000 tractors and distributed it among the states in such a way that they had agro centers where you can go and lease.
The states? Because the states have their own, they also have oversight on agriculture. I mean, we also saw what had happened in Niger State, where the state government bought tractors, I think.
Well,
about that number which you were talking about.
It's difficult to comment about so many states,
mm-hmm.
because in so many states, the governors have seized both the economy of the local governments and pocketed money of local government. And nothing is happening anywhere. The farming should have been done in the rural areas, it's not in the urban cities.
Yeah, I was about to take you up on that.
So it's difficult to really talk about her, because more than 70% of the revenue of the states go to local government. Over 45% goes to the states and local government. And there is not much to show for them. Not much to show for them, especially the local government. And people attribute all the insecurity, all the problems we have as a result of the high level of unemployment that we have in those areas. So it is important. But the thing is that while we talk of the president is the president of the entire country, he should stand up and declare an emergency and take a lead. It's a matter of calling the 36 governors and the FCT and locking everybody up and say, it was shameful that we could accept food from Ukraine.
Grains.
That means if a dead person donates to us, we will take. Whereas we have a lot. So there's a lot that needs to be done. In fact, I could tell you that as it is in the field as of now, I want to urge Mr. President, let him send either through his security network, either the DSS or any of the agencies of government. Let them go into the field and find out what is happening in the field. There will be so much hunger if nothing happens in the next few days. There will be so much hunger in the land because they've mopped up the grains. These grains that they have mopped up, is it not going to be replaced? Why are you going to replace it?
I find it interesting. If you can hear me, Mr. Ojinika, my sincere apologies for butting in. I'd like you to, I want to go back to that question Amakwe asked you about the states. And why is it important? Not just because the federal government says it, but because the states tend to have more arable land than the federal government. On the other hand, are the areas they call ungoverned spaces. We showed an area this morning, and we've shown quite a number of places on this program in the parts of Nigeria where the land is largely uncultivated, and they are everywhere in the country, north, south, east, west, all 6 geopolitical zones. Is it that what do you think is inhibiting the states from taking these gauntlets? Because one of these states, for instance, we call the food basket of the nation. What is the challenge? The lead story of the Daily Times news, or beg your pardon, Daily Trust newspaper this morning speaks to the fact that commercial farms are closing, and consequently there is a risk coming in the food space. So, what exactly do you think are the challenges of the state governors from getting this done as well?
Well, I can't stand in for the states, but what I think is that they're not doing much at all. And there's a great need for them to do more, because the arable lands,
they know what to do.
They should be able to, some of these places, farmers.
If you can hear me, Mr. Ojinika, do you think they know what to do? Do you think they know what to do?
Yeah, some of these places that they say that farmers can no longer go, during elections, they will go there and collect results. Results will be generated from those areas. How? So it's important that even if they have to deploy the level of emergency we have now, even if they have to deploy even using the military to go and guard the farms or to go and protect farmers, because without these farmers, we are going to perish. So it is important that as the rains have now started, let the president call an emergency meeting of the 36 state governors and the FCT with the sole purpose of what is the strategy, what is the plan for this. Let's know all that you have in place for this dry season farming. If it is necessary that some emergency situations or some drastic decisions have to be taken, it has to be taken. But as I tell you now, there is nothing on ground.
Yeah. Chamberlain asked you the other time the question around the president declaring a state of emergency. And one of the issues that we have raised over time on that matter is, unless there's collaboration between the federal government and the state governments on that issue of emergency in the agricultural sector that the president talked about, we may really not have anything. Do you think that kind of conversation happened at all?
Well, that kind of conversation, it will not just be a one-up thing. It has to be continuous, because everything in our economy, both health, everything revolves around the agricultural sector. Everything. If you don't eat well, you will not be healthy. And our economy, in creating jobs, what they are calling now creating jobs of sending 50,000 to people is not creation of jobs. It's not adding any value to the economy. It's not making cotton farmers to grow more cotton. It's not making food processors to process more. So it is important that this issue of agri be taken serious. I want in the next few days for the president, I want to urge the president to, as a matter of urgency, do an emergency meeting whereby all the major stakeholders, in fact, it will be important that the major stakeholders be there, because when you call them now,
my apologies.
Ministry, they will come there and tell lies.
While there is value in the president making this call, just as you have said, it's sounding like you're saying that the governors don't know what to do, and unless the president says something, they will not be able to do anything. The people live in the states. So if it sounds to me like what you're saying is that the governors don't know what to do, and unless the president speaks to them, they will not know what to do. Is that what you're saying?
The president should take a lead. He's the leader of the country. He's the president of the 774 local governments.
But the states are autonomous, Mr. Ojinika. So the states are autonomous.
Yes, they're autonomous, but he's still the president of the entire country. And the economic, he has as the leader of the country, he has a duty to ensure that he gives policy directions that are... So, and the way it is today, majority of the governors are in the same political alignment with the president. So it's a lot easier. So what I want to say is that he is the president of the country. If there's food scarcity in the country, there's food scarcity in Nigeria. You will not say that there's food scarcity in Cross River or food scarcity. It's all part of the country. So it is important that this issue be taken so seriously. It's a national emergency. It's just the same way as when you have any pandemic.
Okay, so just one more thing, because this looming food shortage, I mean, I think it's to be forewarned, it's to be forearmed. So just one more thing before we go. The story that the CBN seems to have gotten an advantage from the courts in terms of getting the social media handles of customers, is it of any consequence to you? What do you think of it?
I think that policy for me is in the right direction. And the courts haven't affirmed it. The banks should be able to go ahead and implement that. And I say this from point of view of the level of fraud we have in our banking sector. And it's important right now that the information of everybody is available to the bank. And if you want to apply for visas today, be it US visa, be it UK, they expect you to fill in all those information. If you're on Facebook, if you're on any of the handles, they will expect you to fill them. And because it gives them a background check, they want to know whether this person, they'll go to your background and check the kind of things you post, the kind of, this kind of person, is it the person that should be, so all those background checks, they are very important, especially for financial institutions like that. I want to salute the courage of Justice Dimba for that judgment. I think it's in the right direction. It's not one of those things that somebody can say is prying into the privacy of people, because those information, the banks need them.
All right.
To do what? What do you need them?
Well, you need them to get the full identity of your customer.
Let's know who is you. So I know that we make reactions definitely on this kind of matters, but so far that's what the court has ruled. So we'll see what happens. So Jeff Ojinika is National Chairman, Coalition for Change, and above all, don't forget, he's a farmer. And so the messages that have come through, we need to pay attention. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Yeah, thank you.